And it looks like we are live. Going to give me just a second here, everybody, please, and thank you, so that I can add in our wonderful Facebook group, the Mile High Huddle Superfan page over on Facebook.com. Give me just a second while that loads in. Got to let this breathe so we can get all of our supporters in on the show. And it looks like we have 5 green check marks across all platforms. Mile High Hello, everybody in Broncos country. Welcome into another episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. I am your host, Lance Sanderson, and joining me as per usual is my good friend and colleague. He is Mile High Huddle's senior NFL draft analyst, the one and only Erick Trickel. Erick, man, this last week in Broncos country was a little rough. Obviously, the 3-0 start came out, and the Broncos were playing really good football, dominating the teams that they needed to dominate. You've heard that multiple times coming out of my mouth over the last couple of weeks. But they ran into a literal buzzsaw in the Baltimore Ravens. There's questionable play calling. Teddy Bridgewater got hurt with a concussion. It was a little bit rough. It was hard to watch, and now some questions are starting to creep back in. Before we get started into this, first things first, how you doing, man? Good to see you again. I'm always glad to be able to talk some football with you.
I'm doing good. I'm tired. Sitting here trying to figure out financial stuff. Decided with the wife that we're going to try to get a trip to Disneyland in with the little one while she's still young. And then this morning, it's like a Broncos loss just leads to a bad week. Like, I haven't had the best week. And then this morning, I walk out into my living room and have the crap scared out of me because I live on the 3rd floor and there's a person looking inside my window as they're doing work on the gutters and my ceiling. And that just about gave me a heart attack. And it just put me in a bad mood for most of the day. But I'm excited to be here tonight and talking Broncos football. It sucks that it's got to be covering a win or covering a loss. Of course, a win's always better, but it's still getting to talk Broncos football.
Yeah, and that really is the biggest thing. I mean, that's obviously what we do best here. And, to break things down for you guys, a great show for you guys tonight. Really great show. We're going to run through the first 4 games, the quarter mark of the Broncos season, obviously 3-1, break down kind of what went wrong, what went right, and everything like that. It's really fun, but it is really rough. You're going into another tough matchup. They've got the Steelers coming in this weekend as well, or they're going to Pittsburgh on Sunday, 11 o'clock kickoff time there. It's a tough matchup, and you just watched a team that went against the perennial playoff contender and a literal buzzsaw again. And the Broncos got slapped. They got slapped around and beat up and punched right square in the mouth. And this week it brings a lot of questions into what this team really is. So hopefully our insights for you guys tonight can kind of lead in the right direction on what this team really kind of looks like. But guys, before we get started on all of that, just got to do some quick matters of business. You guys, again, are watching the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. You guys can find me by following on Twitter by following me at Sanderson MHH, and for Erick at Erick Trickel. Also, shout out to Chad Jensen hiding out behind the scenes at Chad N Jensen, and to Scott Kennedy, our producer of the show, at Scout Kennedy. Also, guys, make sure you guys, while you're at it, following at Mile High Huddle. That's some other account. We're going to get breaking news and analysis on your Denver Broncos. There's some film breakdowns. Erick's been doing 3 or 4 film pieces a week. Zach Hicks is doing a film piece as well, covering the quarterback play, opinion articles, quote breakdowns, anything regarding your Denver Broncos. That's where you're going to find it at Mile High Huddle on Twitter. Facebook supporters, make sure you guys go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Click that blue Become a Supporter button where you guys can find some premium content like the Trickel Zone, which airs every Saturday, going to be delayed this week. Also, there's Kelberman's Corner and Broncos Book Club with Chad Jensen. And also, guys, while we're at it, got to give a quick shout out and a big notification to what we have going on this month on our monthly giveaway. Every single month over the season, we're going to be doing a jersey giveaway. And this month, we have a Pat Surtain jersey that we're going to raffle off, 250,000 stars. Right now, we are about 12% complete at about 25% of the way through the month, guys. It is October 8th today. So hopefully we get to the 250,000 stars mark by the end of this month and get that jersey sent away to everybody. Top star supporters right now, Mrs. Moody up there at the very top, like she has been for the majority of the time that she's been joining us on the show. Randy Jones, Michael Ronquillo, great supporter of everybody. Lawrence Rivera, Howie freaking Day, who already has, I believe, a Von Miller jersey to his name from winning this raffle before. Peter Middleton, who does the Lord's work over in Cambodia and helping us out and highlighting everybody that that does donate some stars. Travis Weber as well, Gary Leeds Palmer, Andrew Baker, who we met at the Mile High Huddle meetup, the meet and greet at the Jets game a couple weeks ago. Andrew Lampy as well. So again, guys, make sure you guys get your stars donations in. I think we're still doing the YouTube Super Chat Superstars on this as well. I'm not 100% sure on that. Check back. As Scott's actually coming back and saying, yes, we are doing the top 5 YouTube Super Chat Superstars are going to be entered into that drawing as well. So that's a great way to support the show. We really appreciate and love, and like this, we can't really express how much we appreciate your guys' support on what we do, because without you guys, we couldn't do what we do best, which is cover your Denver Broncos. Say hello to the chat here really fast. David Crespin jumping in here on Facebook. I think he's got some stars attached to that as well. What's up with Courtland Sutton? Is he going to be out for Sunday? What is going on? We have no receivers for Sunday. Eric, I'm going to let you take it away here really fast. The little context behind this, he rolled his ankle in practice today. What have you heard?
I mean, he's questionable right now, and most of the time questionable players end up playing. I don't think that he'll end up sitting out, but who knows? They're going to probably reevaluate once they get to Pittsburgh tomorrow, and then a little bit before the game and just see how it's going. But I mean, it's definitely a concern that that the receivers have been as banged up as they are, losing Jerry Jeudy, losing KJ Hamler, and now possibly Courtland Sutton. But I mean, we'll probably see like Seth Williams and Tyree Cleveland get called up for this game. I don't actually know if they've actually announced who's been called up yet or not, but it's definitely a bummer. And this isn't the best game really. I mean, no game's the best game, but this Pittsburgh Steelers defense, they're struggling in the secondary. So Denver could use their receivers to go out there and help them win this one.
Yeah, so I had seen something earlier today. I think it was from Brandon Cristal over on 850 KOA, their Broncos insider alongside Benjamin Albright. He had said that per a source that the sprain was a minor sprain, and Courtland Sutton is expected to play, but we'll also see, we're less than 12 hours away from what happened today, and we'll see how he kind of feels and see how that works forward. It would not surprise me to see Tyree Cleveland, who was seen after practice, I do believe, with Teddy Bridgewater working on some stuff by some of the guys that were kind of peeking around with the local media. So Courtland Sutton, that's unfortunate. Like you said, with Jerry Jeudy already out, KJ Hamler out for the season. Now Sutton, who's been hit and miss coming off of that torn ACL from last year, it's not a good look, and the Broncos might be in some dire straits. And Eric, you and I have talked about it multiple times here on Dove Valley Deep Divers. They really need to start going into some more 12 and 13 personnel. But the problem is Albert Okwuegbunam is also dinged up. He has a hamstring injury that he suffered. I believe it was either Wednesday or Thursday in practice. So that's going to be kind of an interesting situation there. I'm not sure what the outlook is on that. Have you heard anything as per Albert Okwuegbunam?
He's out for the game on Sunday, and they're even considering putting him on injured reserve for the short term.
Wow, I hadn't seen anything, so thank you for that.
Which actually isn't that bad of a thing. I've seen a lot of people going about it, but hamstring injuries are extremely tricky, and there's really... it takes a lot of rest for it to really heal up and get good to go. And we saw it last year. It really lingered and bothered KJ Hamler for so long. Ronald Darby, that's what he had happen in the first game. Now he's set to come back. Short-term injured reserve for him. I mean, if he's going to be missing a couple weeks with it anyways, just may as well, even if it's 2 games, put him on injured reserve and let him get that extra week of there just to make sure that hamstring's full go, because that's not something that you really want to mess with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They did the exact same thing with I believe Ojemudia had a quad strain, and he's still missing time right now. But Mike Boone, who had a hamstring injury, Ronald Darby as well. So both of those guys, and it sounds like both of those guys are going to be ready to go potentially this week. I know Boone sounds like he's going to get he's already designated as the call up, and Darby, they may not play him this week, but next week it sounds like he's going to be full go. Michael Ronquillo jumping in here, man. What's up, dude? How we doing tonight? Thanks for joining us. Great to see Broncos country here on the Dove Valley Deep Divers. Go Broncos. Want to say hello before we grab this, Scott, before we grab this comment on Twitch from Savage Boy Kev. I want to just say hello to everybody in the chat really fast. Mark Lindemood jumping in here saying, howdy gang, Denver Broncos for life. What's up, dude? Alvin Thomas Jr., hello from Vegas. Vegas in the house. What's up, man? Broncos country is not a geographical location. It is, in fact, a hashtag state of being. Let's see here. Bill Clinton says, what's up, man? David Crespin in the house as well. He's the one that asked the question on Cortland Sutton. Greg Smith saying hello to Michael Ronquillo. What's going on, Greg? How we doing today? Tim Durr over on Facebook as well. What's up, Lance and Eric? Scott and Chad. What's going on, Broncos country? Thank you all again for joining the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. I want to grab this comment from Savage Boy Kev here really fast over on Twitch to show some love to our new Twitch supporters over that way. Is David Moore on the practice squad or is he on vacation? Haven't heard anything about him since he was signed. Eric?
I mean, last week was his first game. He was brought in a little bit late. He was still picking up the playbook, but they're expecting him to have a pretty decent role this week, especially if Cortland Sutton's out. It just was a matter of time and getting him accustomed to it. And I gotta give a shout out to a couple people here that you happen to miss out. Of course, Malcolm Brown from Homer, Alaska. Always got to shout out my fellow Alaskan here. Got to shout out Paul, who's an awesome Twitter guy on Twitter, man. Always fun to get up and be able to chat with him. Ernie Mays jumping in as well. It's always good to see Ernie in here, and he's a big supporter of all the shows and everything. And of course, Kathy Lund. Been a while since we've seen here on Dove Valley Deep Divers. It's great to see you in here. And as for your question about Albert O, I mean, he pulled his hamstring a little bit ago, and now he's not expected. He's out for this game and expected to go on injured reserve. And then James said, "Enjoyed your article earlier this week. Great writing." Hey, I appreciate that. Just curious which article though. Which one? I mean, not to toot my horn or anything. Put out multiple ones. It'd be nice to know which one specifically that you were talking about. So go ahead and get back to this, James. And it's great to see you in the chat as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie Beagle in the house as well, saying what's up over there on Facebook. So I want to give a quick shout out to Charlie Beagle as well. Now, with this Broncos team, let's just kind of get right into the thick of this deal. The Broncos obviously 3-1. They're Lawrence Rivera jumping in and saying, "Hey guys, throwing some stars down as well." Man, we appreciate that. We really do. But this Broncos team, obviously, 3-1, coming off a frustrating loss against the Baltimore Ravens this last week, beating up on some inferior opponents for the most part. The offense was kind of clicking a little bit. They were averaging over 20 points a game there it was actually closer to like 26 points a game. I think it was the actual number before they, before Teddy Bridgewater got hurt, and the offense wasn't looking great. But Eric, specifically to the offense over the first 4 games of the season, what really has stuck out to you, and what has been probably the biggest thing that's actually worked for the offense, and a harbinger of something good that could come going forward?
I mean, it's got to start with the play of the quarterback. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, despite the pressure that he'd been dealing with, which wasn't sustainable, and we saw that against the Baltimore Ravens, he just is so quick through his reads, and he does a lot of eye manipulation to throw off the members of the secondary to find an opening in the zone. He does such a good job against zone coverage that it's really been effective. He's sharp with his throws. Placement is pretty sharp most of the time. There are some throws that have gotten away from him. We saw a couple of those poorly placed throws against the Baltimore Ravens, especially. But I mean, for the most part, he's looked really good. We're seeing him calling the blocking alignments at the line of scrimmage, seeing him call out plays, call out blitzers, things like that. And that's helping this offense, not exactly like, kill it out there, but it's definitely helping this offense improve from what we saw last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, one of the biggest things here is, especially regarding in the passing game, like specifically, Teddy Bridgewater is 5th in the NFL, minimum 100 attempts right now in terms of completion percentage, 72.1%. That's a drastic change for what we've seen over even the last 5 seasons, going back to when Peyton Manning and the Broncos won the Super Bowl in 2015. 27th in yards right now. He did miss that one half of a game, and not necessarily lighten up the stat sheet as far as that goes. Has 5 total touchdowns. That's 18th in the NFL. But it comes back to that completion percentage and just the efficiency of the offense as a whole. It's like I said, it's a breath of fresh air. And like you kind of got into there just a second ago with calling out plays at the line of scrimmage, identifying his Mike linebacker, identifying his his pass protections, getting into the right running plays when he needs to audible and check into a different play because the box is loaded or whatever may have. Teddy's doing something we haven't seen in Broncos country since probably, quite honestly, 2014, where he's operating at the line of scrimmage at really a high level. This offense, they're not necessarily, burning up the stat sheet by any stretch of the imagination, but they're grinding out long and sustained drives. Even against the Ravens this last week, they had a 6 or 7 play drive that went for a touchdown. And it was really leaning on the running game. They had a big penalty in there as well, but they're grinding out these long, extensive drives, leading the NFL in terms of time of possession, and that really does start with Teddy Bridgewater at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and it's just we've said it so much over the offseason. You just live and die by your quarterback.
Yep.
And Pat Shurmur, we saw what he was able to do with the quarterback that he was able to trust to go make the throws, and not trying to throw like Drew Lock under the bus or anything like that, or talk about how say he's bad or anything. But Pat Shurmur was able to trust Teddy Bridgewater to go out there and execute and not turn the ball over. And Teddy hasn't turned the ball over. He's just been able to just be steady Teddy, as his nickname, Teddy Two Gloves. So it just opens up a lot for the offense. Now, the issue is that even though they're doing well passing the ball, there have been some issues when they've gotten into the red zone. There was that fumble by Albert Okwuegbunam. There was the fumble by Javonte Williams as well, both of them within the 5-yard line. Those of them are major killers, obviously, because you're so close to the end zone there and just turn the ball over. And then against the Baltimore Ravens, Okwuegbunam's big drop, that was, I'm not 100% certain that was a touchdown for sure, but it was a big play that would have put the Broncos in really good position, and it just fell through his hands. And so it's just multiple issues that there's Broncos are still shooting themselves in the foot. The blocking still has to improve, especially in the running game.
Yeah.
And if they can stop shooting themselves in this foot, this offense could actually be a good offense.
Yeah, they really can. I want to grab this super sticker from Muhammad Badri, who we haven't seen here for a while on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. Mo, what's good, my dude? The exercising pair sticker. I can't see that on my side, but shout out to Scott Kennedy for doing the Lord's work behind the scenes, running the 1s and 2s. But Mo is the king of the super sticker, as everybody is well aware for what he does, and we appreciate you for joining us again here tonight. Thank you for that. Getting back to the running game, and I was going to hold off on doing this for just a little bit, but I want to address, actually, Andrew Baker jumping in here, throwing some stars. What's up, DVDD? Still in Chicago. Going to have to listen to the game on the radio on the drive home, but hashtag Go Broncos, hashtag MHH for life. Andrew, man, thank you for joining us again. We really appreciate you, buddy.
And I'm actually in a similar situation as you, Andrew. I'm going to be heading up to Anchorage on Sunday. My wife has to have surgery on her eyes on Monday, so going to be heading up to Anchorage for that, and I'm going to actually be missing the game, so I'm going to have to watch it that night or Monday morning.
Yeah, I don't have to deal with that. I get to stay at home and cuddle up with the kids and watch the game. But sorry for both of you guys having to go through the struggles on that. Peter Middleton joining us here and asking what will happen with Pat Surtain. I'm presuming he's going back to his normal position, or would you keep him on the outside now? Quite honestly, he's probably better on the outside. He's getting caught up in some man coverage situations right now, playing a lot of trail technique and trying to use his athleticism in ways that it doesn't work at the NFL level. This is an even playing field. At Alabama, you might be the fastest player that is on the field at any given time, especially, in Pat Surtain's case. However, it's not working for him. He was targeted, I think, 10 times against the Ravens, allowed 7 receptions. He also has another big touchdown catch that he allowed against the Giants in week 1 to Sterling Shepard early in the game. And that was playing that same trail technique where he just didn't have the speed to keep up with Shepard coming across the middle on the deep over there. To me, you got to keep him on the outside. Ronald Darby, I'm not sure if he's going to play this week, but it sounds like he should be really close to being ready to go. When he comes back, I'm not exactly sure how you operate that situation. Eric, do you have some insight on that?
I mean, you just go back to the rookie being the backup as that they intended all along. Patrick Surtain, he's played admirably, but he hasn't gone out there and completely killed it by any means to make it a hard decision here. Ronald Darby, they're not sure if he's going to play in this game. If he does, he's not going to play a full game, so we're still going to see quite a bit of Patrick Surtain, and then going forward, they're going to be rotating these guys. So I don't really know if there's a big difference or big change they have to make. It's just your secondary is getting back to full strength, really.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. I mean, obviously with Darby missing some time there with a hamstring injury, Michael Ojemudia, who I think Scott actually said it was a hamstring there. I can't remember if it was a quad or a hamstring, but he's still dealing with that coming back. So you've already had to deal with missing 2 of your top 5 cornerbacks there and really forced Pat Surtain into playing a large role. And as you said, he has played admirably. He's given up a lot of catches, but he had that great interception in week 2 against Jacksonville on the side sideline. The footwork there was absolutely amazing. The body control was amazing. Had a big pass breakup against the New York Jets on a third down against Corey Davis. That was an amazing play as well. And he seems to be very physical in the running game. When he fills incredibly physically. He does a really good job. Doesn't miss a lot of tackles, at least from what I have seen. So it's going to be interesting, like you said, with his role moving forward. And probably you're probably right there. With Darby coming back, they'll probably put him back on the sideline a little bit more.
One thing though is talking about Patrick Surtain being physical against the run game. Hollywood Brown completely owned him in the running game this last week, which was, I mean, it's not common for Patrick Surtain. He does normally do well, but there was something off with him with going against Hollywood Brown. And on the one touchdown run, Hollywood Brown just ate his lunch.
He did.
It was terrible.
Well, and the worst thing is Hollywood Brown is about as physical as your 3-year-old daughter. So there's that. I mean, he's not necessarily the guy that's going to go bully you around by any stretch of the imagination. I wonder. Oh, she's 4. That's right. I wonder if with the speed and the deep threat that Marquise Brown brings on that, if that kind of played a little bit of a part in that particular situation. Now it is a running game, a running play, and you're long, strong, physical. That's your MO as a cornerback. Why are you getting bullied by a guy that's like 5'10", 185 pounds down the field? It just doesn't make sense to me. However, I think that there might have had a little bit of something to do with that, with him in a backpedal or turning and running. I haven't seen that play over again, so I'll make sure to go check that back. Travis Weber jumping in here on Facebook, throwing some stars. We appreciate you, buddy. I agree with the difference is Teddy. But if and when he goes down like last week, from the coaches to the offense, you don't let your backup quarterback down despite the issues and play as if he was the starter. At this point, I think Drew is better off elsewhere. As for Pat Surtain, as good as he is, he's still a rookie and learning in the NFL. To that last point, I agree with you. Drew being better off elsewhere, I'm not 100% certain I necessarily agree with that. I can see the logic behind that. I don't agree with that as of right now anyways.
Broncos country may be better with him elsewhere.
That's very true. I mean, the toxicity in this community is ridiculous. Andrew Lampy jumping in, nothing to say, just showing some love. We appreciate you, Andrew, for joining us tonight. Going back to that, Based Gase jumping in here with the $5 super chat. What is your outlook on the season if we lose this game? And when will we start getting mock drafts, Eric?
Talk to Chad. I can't do them up to a certain point. The issue is that we just don't want to take away from what's going on in the regular season. So once it hits a certain point, I'll be able to do them. But don't worry, I'm hard at work on draft stuff and everything like that. I'm actually, before this, I was working on getting my scouting list down. But as for my outlook on the season, if we lose this game, it really depends on how Denver loses this game. Yeah. Because this Steelers offense is not good. No. The Steelers defense, they have a lot of talent, but all over, but their secondary is struggling. It's their defensive line and their edge rushers that are such a dangerous threat. And granted, they attack the Broncos right where they hurt the most on offense. So it depends on how they lose. If they go out there and this offense is able to replicate what the Ravens did, and I know Lance and I disagree about the defense's performance against the Ravens, not saying it was terrible, but I wouldn't say phenomenal like Lance did. But if they have a similar performance like that, it's very concerning going forward. And then if the Broncos offense struggles, how do they struggle? So it's hard to say what it will be, but to me, this is a must-win game for the Broncos beyond the playoff aspect of it.
Yeah. Naj Altoff jumping in here. Naj, what's up, dude? It was such a pleasure to meet you at the Mile High Huddle meet and greet a couple weeks ago. Thank you for joining us.
Probably the funniest guy to meet out of everybody that was there. Dude, you had me laughing. Even afterwards, like I was still laughing about meeting you. It was such a pleasure to meet you, dude. You were the life of the party there.
He really was. Between him and Kayaka Mondragon, that dude was a blast too. But no, Naj was great. We sat and talked for probably, 15, 20 minutes before we did the live stream, the Gut Reaction podcast. It's sitting there in the parking lot, and the language with this guy is colorful. Let's just say that to say the least. He actually got yelled at by Chad. And Chad was like, "Hey, dude, watch the F-bombs. You gotta calm down just a little bit." But $20 super chat. We appreciate the support, man. Hey, brothers, this being a must-win for Pittsburgh, I think they'll come out fired up, especially Big Ben. Do you think the Broncos will match that intensity, or do you see the lackadaisical play from last week continuing? I'm going to jump in on this one. while it's a must win for Pittsburgh, I think this is actually a must win for Denver as well. I mean, like, quite honestly, with Pittsburgh reeling as much as they are, with the Steelers offense not playing as well as they have for, the last 5-10 years or so, Ben Roethlisberger looks like he's literally falling off of the age cliff faster than terminal velocity at this particular point. They can't get anything going in the running game despite drafting Najee Harris in the first round. That offensive line is just absolutely terrible. Like, there's an opportunity here for the Broncos to take advantage of a weaker Pittsburgh team, because quite honestly, this isn't the same Pittsburgh team we're accustomed to seeing by any stretch of the imagination. And they also have the Las Vegas Raiders next week. They have the Cleveland Browns following that, and then the Washington football team, who has really been underperforming for the majority of this first 4-game stretch of the season. Like, this is a must-win game for Denver too, because Cleveland's a tough matchup, man. They're going to run the football all over the place. Baker Mayfield's not playing the greatest, but they need this win. They need this win to go to 4-1 and kind of alleviate some of the stress of going against the Raiders and then Cleveland in back-to-back weeks. And those two teams are at the top of the AFC right now. So, Eric, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, there's obviously a couple people in the chat that are questioning why I call this must win, and beyond the what's going on with the games and everything, I'm looking at this from a locker room point of view. With the bad years that we've had a couple times, Denver went 3-0 against bad teams. Like, there's no arguing that the Jets, the Giants, and the Jaguars aren't the greatest of teams this year. If they go out there and after the game they had against the Ravens, if they go against another team that's viewed as a tough team like the Pittsburgh Steelers and they fall flat, that losing mentality, the mentality that's plagued them for the last couple of years of losing these games, is going to start to sink in, and it's going to carry over, and it's going to become problematic in the locker room. And real quick, I want to give a shout out to Jay Roper, who comes in and says, "Ooh, Eric and Lance, I'm joining the dad club. Congratulations, dude."
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Congratulations from my family to yours. I know for Eric, as he just said, congratulations. Congratulations from the entire Mile High Huddle staff on that. It's the best feeling in the world, man. It is the greatest thing to come home and to see your child's smiling face every single day, no matter how bad your day was. As soon as you get them in your arms, it is the greatest thing. Peter Middleton also jumping in saying congratulations there as well. Run back Naj, if you're still around here, Naj, go to get on your email and email milehighhuddle@gmail.com. We have some swag we want to give to you. Get in touch with Chad, give him your shirt size, give him your address and everything like that. He's going to send you a Mile High Huddle t-shirt for all of your support, man. We really appreciate that. Gary Leeds Palmer jumping in, throwing some stars as well. Shout out to you, Gary, for all of your support. Nathan Letuala, I believe that's the last name. If I butchered that, I do apologize. $2 super sticker there. Do you have what that is? Just a thumbs up? Big thumbs up from Scott Kennedy there. So thanks, Nathan, for your support. We appreciate you there, big buddy. Where were we at here? Oh, I wanted to get into this just a little bit. And we kind of going back to the Broncos offense and their running game and the way that they have not really struggled over the first part of the season. It's not been great. And the offensive line is a part of that. I think Melvin Gordon, as good as he is still missing some stuff there. But man, what happened yesterday in the press conference with Pat Shurmur was borderline criminal. Like, seriously, I'm sure people have heard it before, but I'll go into some of the comments that he had. And sorry for doing this, Eric, but he was asked a bunch of questions about the Broncos running game, specifically in the second half against the Baltimore Ravens, where they only ran 4 times. They only ran 4 running plays, down 10 in the second half, in a game that they were definitely hanging around in, and their defense only allowed 6 points in the second half as well. It was borderline criminal the way that they went out there with Drew Lock, the backup quarterback, coming in cold, coming in after halftime, and not leaning on the running game to make it a little bit early. And he kind of said some things that doesn't necessarily make sense. He was asked why the team didn't have success running the football in week 4. And what he said was, quote, "I think early on we missed on some big passes early. So then you run to try to run to keep on schedule. Then we had some long third down situations. And typically, if you're staying on the field and converting third downs, you get more runs. That just goes without saying. You feel more comfortable doing it. We've been a team that's been able to drive the ball, which means when you're running the ball, you're making yards. It didn't go our way the other night. I have to be better. We got to be better. We just have to play better than we did against Baltimore and get back on the stick. Now, something on that, Eric, and I'm going to let you chew on this for just a second. The one thing that really grinds my gears about this entire situation is where he says we weren't converting on third downs enough. Yeah, no duh, dude. You guys were in third down and 8 on average during out the game and went 2 of 14 or something like that on third down because the majority of the time you were behind the sticks. You're in mismanageable situations on third down. You know what helps you alleviate your third down conversion rate and makes it a little bit more manageable? Running the ball on first and second and down. Yeah, you missed on some passes, dude, but seriously, that is not an acceptable answer to me. That is nonsensical, again, borderline criminal and completely ridiculous.
Well, I mean, if you ask Vic Fangio, it's just because they weren't having success on the running downs. the Baltimore Ravens were controlling the trenches. I mean, coach speak out his behind there, but hey, I mean, if the coach says it, it's got to be true, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have a whole article on there actually putting Vic Fangio on blast for his comments. He and Pat Shurmur deserve all the hate that they're getting, all the vitriol, everything that they're getting about the Broncos game plan. It was not the way to go out there, especially after losing your starting quarterback. They were down 10 through the third quarter. There was no reason to abandon the run, especially with the success that they were having.
Yep.
On first and second down, they had ran the ball 15 times. 8 of them were considered a success, which is gaining at least 40% of yards on first down or at least 60% of yards on second down. They had multiple big runs there. I mean, they only had less than 3 yards rushing on a rushing attempt 3 times. One went for 1, and then the other 2 were negative losses. So, like, there was no need for it. And the best way to help your backup quarterback get into it is run the ball and help him get comfortable. Throw a quick passing game out there, which they didn't do that either, which is rather concerning because against the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's one of the best ways to move the ball. They have struggled so much against a quick passing game. It helps nullify their pass rush. And hey, guess what? Against the Baltimore Ravens and their defensive line, how would you have nullified that pass rush? A quicker passing game and using your running game to keep them off balance. But no, I mean, both of them, they deserve all the blame, all of it. And I will say this, when I was trying to title my Vic Fangio piece, it was the first time I actually had to hit chat up because there was no way I could think of a title that actually didn't include a curse word in it because I was livid about Vic Fangio's comments.
Your analysis on that was completely spot on. Tim Hoffman jumping in with 500 stars on Facebook. Man, hey, we appreciate that. Gonna grab another couple of these before we dive right back into that. We have, Christy Remedi, the queen of Mile High Huddle, jumping in with the $5 super chat. Nice to see you on the stream. It was great to meet you as well. Congrats to Jay Roper for on the announcement of his new child upcoming. Happy Friday, everyone, with an orange heart. Thank you, Christy. We appreciate your support as always. Let's see here. There was another one that just came in. There was a super sticker from Broncos 17-0. Let's see a name behind that. $20 super sticker. Wow. Dude, thank you for that. We appreciate you on that one, man. Scott, you have an update on that? What's that super sticker? I'll get back to that here in just a second. But anyways, man, we really appreciate that. Going back to that quick conversation. Let's see here. Let me pull this up full screen so I can actually see what we've got going on here because I can't actually see it. Never mind.
Looks like a little animal swinging a flag of a number 1.
Yep, number 1 flag. Thank you, Bronco 17-0. We appreciate you there, buddy. Going back to that conversation on Drew Lock. What's going on here? Oh, that was Scott. Scott, what are you doing, man? Taking me, oh, man, the show's already off the rails. Dang it. It's all right, dude. Hey, we appreciate you for doing everything you're doing, man. Going back to that Drew Lock conversation really fast, as far as what he was doing, where they were pushing the ball down the field, trying to take some shots, it didn't make sense. And we were talking earlier, and go ahead.
It does make sense. It was panicked play calling.
Right.
That's what it was. They struggled to move the ball in the first half. And so even though they were down 10 and still in a situation where they could still run the ball and not have to take shots, they panicked, especially down their starting quarterback. And I mean, it seemed like, and this was talked about a little bit before we went live a little bit, that it was kind of a game where they were throwing the backup quarterback out there and letting him kind of struggle and should basically be proven, hey, I was right. And it was, as much as I've doubted Drew Lock and everything, the Denver Broncos coaching staff did him wrong in the second half of this game.
They really did. They really did. Again, only 4 running attempts. I mean, they came out that so after they got a quick shutdown of the Ravens offense, I think it was a quick first down and then they forced a punt. The very first play that the Broncos ran in the second half was a running play to Melvin Gordon for 6 yards. Then they threw the ball 8 consecutive times, including a 3 and out or a quick first down and out on the next drive. They ran it twice with Javonte Williams and then threw it another 6 times in a row and ran 1 time late in the game. It doesn't make sense. Why are you, I don't want to call it sabotage because that doesn't sit well with me, but why are you freaking out? And why are you going away from what was working? Your 12 and 13 personnel was doing great. They were grinding out some yards in the running game. I mean, Javonte Williams looked really good in the first half. He had that big 31-yard run where he dragged Marlon Humphrey for almost 20 yards down the field, but still, I mean, they were actually being successful on the ground in 12 and 13 personnel. Teddy Bridgewater goes down, and now you're going to run 11 and just throw the ball over the yard. It doesn't make any sense at all. Randy Jones saying hello from Alaska really fast. Eric, go ahead.
I was going to say hello to Randy Jones, of course, fellow Alaskan here. Always got to get a shout out from me. But I mean, going back to the running game and the Broncos, everybody knows they ran the ball 4 times in the second half. They had 16 total runs. 9 of their 16 runs came on the first 4 drives. That's inexcusable. It goes beyond just what they did in the second half. It carries over into the first half as well.
Oh yeah.
4 drives, 9 of their 16 runs.
I didn't
after their first 4 drives, they never ran the ball more than twice. I mean, I understand that they struggled to get first downs, which is kind of where I can get where Pat Shermer was coming from with his comment about third downs and not getting more run plays. But like, there were multiple drives where they didn't run it at all, and then they still had a chance to, and they just didn't. And I get that there's this balance of you don't want to be predictable and constantly running on first down. You don't want to constantly be running on second down, but like, you still have to have a balance there, especially when you're just down 10, especially when the best aspect of your offense was the running game. I mean, everybody talks about how bad the offensive line did. I mean, this was actually probably their best game as a unit when it comes to run blocking. Absolutely terrible in pass protection.
Yeah.
Natani Moody got owned. Bobby Massey got owned. Garrett Bowles got owned. Lloyd Cushenberry did all right because he just hardly hadn't had any one-on-ones. Quinn Miners, I mean, he was up and down. He was the best offensive lineman out there for the Broncos. And I mean, that was the best play from the left guard position that Denver's seen for last 2 years, since Reiser's rookie year at least. But there was no reason to go away from it. There's no balance, panicked play calling, and we know it's not a conspiracy that they were throwing Lock to the wolves because of the fact that we saw them going away from the run before the second half too.
Yeah, it's so questionable. Like the logic behind what they're saying, they're literally lying through their teeth on trying to explain away.
Coach speak.
No, don't give me that nonsense. That's
coach speak. That's coach speak.
It's like, bold, blatant face.
General manager speak, coach speak. That's all that is. It's just lies.
But you can call it.
They got to cover their behind somehow.
Yeah. Also, shout out back to Randy on that last comment. 10 with 1,000 stars on that, dude. Thank you for your support. We really do appreciate that. All right, let's get away from this conversation really fast. Let's switch over to the defensive side.
I want to grab this comment from Tez Esquire. Yes. Then it was a wrap. Can someone tell me why there wasn't more play action? Probably because this is a coaching staff that believes that you need to run the ball in order to set up the play action, which is just wrong.
Brandon Staley, you are the GOAT. Brandon Staley's the GOAT. I swear, goodness, his comments. Guys, if you haven't seen that, Google it. Brandon Staley went on a rant there for a minute about how you don't have to run the football effectively to have an effective play action passing game. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I mean, that's not even the best part of his comment. The best part of his comment is that you still want to keep running the ball because it allows your offensive line to go and be physical. And the Broncos offensive line, they have a lot of guys who want to go out there and be physical. Garrett Bowles wants to be physical. Quinn Miners wants to be physical. Natani Moody wants to be physical. So going away from the run, I mean, it just set up the offensive line for failure as well because it took them away from what they want to do. And there was a reason why the Broncos running game looked as good as it did, because they got to go out there and they got to go hit. They got to go be physical and they got to go play to their strengths, really.
This week is actually going to kind of line up in the same way. Like, and I know this Pittsburgh defense, especially on the front seven, they're elite. I mean, TJ Watt, they have Melvin Ingram on the other side, who is quite honestly a very underrated run defender. Cameron Hayward's one of probably the top, at least a top 10, if not top 5 interior defensive linemen. Stephon Tuitt as well. What the heck's the kid's name? The Bush kid, the one that everybody wanted. I forget. Devin Bush. That's the one. Devin Bush is a really good scrape and run defender as well. So the Broncos might have some tough sledding, but everyone said, the Ravens defense in the front seven, they're like, you got to stay away from the running game, hit the quick passes, use that extension. Eric, you and I talked about it last week on Dove Valley Deep Divers. But the Broncos went out there and they dominated in the running game for the little time that they actually used it. This week, they're going to have to do kind of the same thing. It just drives me insane. Sorry, guys. We got some more stars jumping in here from Lawrence, I believe, unless that was the last one we just showed. He says he's on Lance's side. Thanks, man. We appreciate that. So let's flip the script just a little bit. Get away from the offensive side of the football. Go back through the last 4 games, Eric, and think about this just a little bit. Obviously, the stinker that they had against the Michael, thanks, man. We appreciate you, buddy. Good night, man. Have a great night. Hopefully, we'll see you again next week. We know we will, but thank you for joining us tonight for at least a little bit. And as always, go Broncos. And thank you for the stars. We appreciate you, buddy. So on the defensive side of the football, obviously Von Miller has been killing it. He's leading at least a team with 5 sacks right now. They're creating a lot of pass pressure, even without having Bradley Chubb in tow. They had the stinker in the secondary against the Ravens last week where they allowed 319 yards. It was the second time that Lamar Jackson has ever passed for 300 yards in his entire NFL career. But defensively, man, I'm really impressed with this unit. Has it really lived up to the billing of being the highest paid defensive unit in the NFL, or is there something underneath the surface that we're not quite seeing yet?
They haven't lived up to it yet, but I think that part of the problem was that losing Josie Jewell hurt a lot. I mean, he's been very underrated by Broncos fans. He was the best linebacker the Broncos had. And fortunately, Alexander Johnson has really stepped up his game since he got hurt. He's been absolutely killing it the last 2 weeks. And they just some miscommunications. It's things that they got to work on. Kyle Fuller had a couple slow starts. Patrick Surtain had a couple of starts in a rough game against the Ravens, and then they also lost Ronald Darby. So there's reasons why they haven't exactly lived up to the hype that they were getting, but it doesn't mean they can't. There's still a lot of things of getting it all together and all that. And Caden Stern's MVP last game, he killed it. He had 7 snaps on defense and had a high impact on 4 plays. There's no doubt about it. A little bit small of a what's the word I'm looking for, of a sample size for me. And I think that Johnson's play against the Baltimore Ravens was rather underrated. One bad play, like in coverage, but I mean, he killed it.
Well, his play against the Jets the week before, man, holy cow. We watched that game live. We were obviously in the stands, the Mile High Huddle meet and greet, but man, that was arguably the best game that Alexander Johnson's ever played in his entire NFL tenure. And the only other one that I can think that matches up close to it was, I believe, week 5 was that 2019 in Los Angeles against the Chargers.
The only one that's close is the Houston Texans game that he had.
Yeah, that's a fair point too. That was a really good game for him. But still, also shout out to Justin Sternad, who I think has actually been quite undervalued and underappreciated by Broncos country. He hasn't been tremendous by any stretch of the imagination, and he's not the greatest in run defense right now, but he has held his own in pass coverage for the most part. He's actually playing pretty good football and filling in nicely for Josie Jewell. I want to give a shout out to Justin Sternad, and people need to start pounding that number 40 just a little bit more. As far as the rest of the defensive line is concerned, go ahead, Eric. Go ahead, elaborate on that before I go.
Go ahead. I was gonna actually switch topics here slightly, so go ahead and finish up what you're saying.
Well, I was just gonna jump into the defensive line just a little bit and talk a little bit about Draymond Jones, who has we've all billed him multiple times, even last year and coming into this season, as this gigantic breakout player. He's been great. Don't get me wrong. He has been amazing. However, it just doesn't seem to be translating right now. There's a lot of things with him. There's some inconsistency. I don't want to call it effort problems, but it seems like there are some times where he'll take a playoff or two or something like that, and he just kind of disappears for some stretches. The flashes are intense. They are crazy. Erick actually showed us a play. It was a screenshot of a play that he had against the Ravens where he was the first person off the ball underneath with great pad level, already had extended his arms, and nobody else on the defense had moved even one step. This guy is playing phenomenal football, but man, I really was hoping there was going to be more impact, more palpable impact at least, without doing some instant or some tape grinding behind it. What do you think about Draymond Jones, man?
I mean, outside of the Jacksonville Jaguars game, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah,
the Baltimore Ravens, not gonna lie, I don't have the exact number or anything like that, but I swear he was double teamed at least 90% of his snaps. Mm-hmm. He made such an impact that game from the start. The very first play the Baltimore Ravens ran, Draymond Jones blew it up. And even against the double teams, whenever they ran the ball, he was still pushing the double team back and setting up a stout edge, forcing the running back to go back into the heart of the defense. He's been absolutely killing it. Shelby Harris has been playing fairly well. We had Cody Fan come in and say, "How do you guys think Shelby's played?" He's been playing fairly well. Not quite what we saw last year, but he's doing all right. Does need to step it up a little bit. But yeah, Jones has been absolutely killing it. And I gotta put this guy to bed a little bit, saying Najee gonna gut you. The Pittsburgh Steelers have the worst rushing offense, averaging 53 yards per game, and the Denver Broncos are the 5th best rushing defense, averaging 70 yards allowed per game. And I mean, that is largely thrown off because the Baltimore Ravens, who had to use the final few seconds to keep a streak going to break 100 yards. If Najee beats the Broncos, it's going to be what he does as a receiver out of the backfield. They're not going to be able to run the ball.
Like, quite honestly, I think that if Najee beats him, the Broncos allowed him to. Like, honestly, like they want to have that focus on stopping the run, but the Broncos, it's going to go back into kind of the same way that the Broncos play. Let them run on you. Like, we want you to run on us because it's the lowest EPA per play of any play other than a screen pass on any offensive play. It's like the running game for the Broncos doesn't affect them. They want to keep everything in front and limit you down that way. If Najee Harris has a big game against this Broncos defense, first off, I don't think that's going to happen because this offensive line is absolute terrible. But secondly, that's what the Broncos are trying to do. They want you to run the football and they want you to have success doing that. It might shorten the game up a little bit, but still, that's what Vic Fangio's defenses like to do. Force you into running games, keep everything in front of you, put you in mismanageable third down situations, and get off the field. They haven't been great at doing that, I will say that. But that's literally the way that Najee's going to beat this team is because the Broncos just let him do it.
I mean, this is a team where you stop the run, you basically stop their offense because Ben Roethlisberger ain't it. Like he should have called it quits after last season. His arm is shot, his legs are shot. Did you see I don't know if anybody in the chat has, but there's a picture going around of him after practice where he just had ice packs on everywhere on his lower body. I mean, shut down Najee, you basically shut down their offense. You still have to be a little bit cautious of the receivers just because they are such a talented bunch that Ben Roethlisberger can throw his little quick 4-yard pass and hopefully get it there and let them go make a play. But
true. That is so
true. I doubt Najee goes more than, I'll say 40 yards this game. I'll go on the book for that. I don't think he breaks 40.
It wouldn't surprise me, but like I was saying, if he does, it's because the Broncos just allowed him to. They said we'll let you run it. We're just going to come after Ben and force him into turnovers and force him into bad incompletions because that's been his MO. We're going to sack Ben Roethlisberger 6 times. We're going to intercept him twice, and if you want to have 100 rushing yards against us, by all means, go ahead because you ain't getting anything else. Like that's literally how it's going to happen. That was where I was kind of going with that point.
And the comment that I was going to get to earlier, but that was kind of not really changing the topic, was someone on the other side of Vaughn needs to step up. Hard to get to the quarterback when you are double and triple teamed. Vaughn's not actually getting double or triple teamed all that often.
No.
And that's part of the reason why he's causing such a havoc on it. But somebody opposite him still needs to step up.
Yes.
I know I got a lot of hate last year talking about Malik Reed and his deficiencies as a pass rusher, but we're seeing it now. He isn't an efficient pass rusher. He'll get sacks every now and then. Most of them are coverage sacks. And that's largely what he got against the Jets.
Yep.
He's got to step it up. And we're seeing, as questionable as Bradley Chubb has been at times on the field, there is still a huge gap between him and what Denver's getting out of Malik
Yes.
Reed.
No.
And he's got to step it up. Jonathan Cooper's got to step it up. Andre Mint's got to step it up. Like, Shelby Harris has to step it up. They need more help. It can't be just Von Miller and Draymond Jones, because right now, consistently, that's all it is, not counting blitzes from your rookie safety or your linebacker.
Right, and that was actually something I was kind of trying to get at with Draymond Jones. And again, he's been pretty freaking good for what he is, but just the big palpable impact. Von Miller has 5 sacks this season. The next 2 players behind him, tied with 2, are Caden Stearns, who had 2 against the Ravens on 7 snaps, by the way, and Alexander Johnson, who had 2 against the Jets. Okay, then Malik Reed, McTelvin Agim, and Shelby Harris. Those are the only other 3 players on this Broncos defense that have a sack this season. That's per Pro Football Focus. Like, there has to be someone else to step up. And Draymond Jones was the guy that I was really hoping was going to be that guy. However, and as Von Miller has definitely astutely pointed out, he takes sacks away from Draymond. He'll get there a half a step early. Draymond's not able to get there because Von is doing his thing on the outside. Someone else, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's Shelby, whether it's Draymond, whether it's Mike Purcell, Deshaun Williams, Malik Reed, Mintz, does not matter. Someone else has to start becoming an effective pass rusher and allow this Broncos defense to play their defense the way that they like to play it, by only bringing forward, dropping everybody back into coverage. Because if it's Caden Stearns and Alexander Johnson as your next 2 leading sackers on the team as far as the defense is concerned, that means the Broncos are doing something that they don't necessarily like to do, especially with Vic Fangio, and that's sending extra pressure, sending extra rushers, sending extra blitzers. That's something that has to be alleviated going forward immediately.
Yeah, and there was a comment here that I wanted to I didn't want to put it on the screen just because it could be vomit inducing, but Savage Boy Kev, we won't talk about that because, as I said, it could be vomit inducing. And I mean, we all know that coach should be fired by now. It's the same old, same old. He should have been gone after last year. Like, it's at this point, it's just stupid at this point.
Yeah.
Tez Esquire says, guys, I'm the only person who feels like our defense hasn't been any good against the Ravens. Jackson had all the time in the world. Didn't seem like any pressure was there. They're playing contain. I mean, their job wasn't necessarily to get pressure. It was to keep Jackson in the pocket. And when they went after him, a few times they got pressure and a few times they allowed him a lane to go and pick up yards. Not going to be the same thing against Ben Roethlisberger this week. I mean, he's just not the threat he was after being able to run the ball. So not quite the same thing. The Ravens game isn't the best game to really highlight the lack of pressure. Denver struggled against the Jaguars, but since then in the Jets game, they did very well.
Yeah, and like CC says, and that was the game plan, Tez. And if you listen to the Broncos players and read their quotes, and if you get the opportunity to go back and find some of these press conferences, Von Miller wasn't necessarily happy with it. Shelby Harris wasn't necessarily happy with the game plan, where they were forced to play team first defense. We're going to play contain on Lamar Jackson. Don't let him beat us with his legs. Let him throw the ball all over the yard, and hopefully he just doesn't do it because he's never been that kind of a quarterback before. However, he did exactly what you didn't want him to do, which was beat you with his arm. Like you forced him to do something that he never does, and he actually did it, and it bit him in the ass. And unfortunately, that's just poor game planning by Vic, by Ed Donatel. It's also poor game planning by Pat Shurmur for not having a more effective offensive game plan. Like if you don't want them to, have those extra possessions and stuff to be able to move the ball down the field, then you need to be more effective on the offensive side of the football as well. So synergistic effect is in there for sure, but that was more of a game plan thing. There was a question here from Jeremy Black Knight on Twitter. He said he never got an answer from Chad and Zach about this. Do you think this coaching staff has broken Drew Lock? And if so, what team would you like to see Lock go to and have a resurgence at? Do you think that if we clean up the coaching staff after the season, that the new offensive coordinator can fix Lock? Eric, I'm going to let you get into this and let me think about this for a second, because I might have some choice words here.
I don't think the coaching staff broke Lock. I think part of the issue with Lock is that he's just not getting it mentally. And we saw that in the preseason. We saw that despite the issues of the play calling, we saw the issues of him not getting it mentally in the second half against the Ravens. It goes back to issues he had last year. It goes back to issues he had his rookie year, issues that go back to his time in college. If Locke's going to be fixed, he's got to improve himself in the film room, reading film, reading defenses, and I don't think that it's going to be exactly up to the coach who does that. It's got to be on him.
I definitely agree with you. And the biggest thing that I noticed, and it was something I've pointed out multiple times on Dove Valley Deep Divers, is his inability to diagnose things, what's going on, not only after the snap, but pre-snap. We saw this against the Los Angeles Rams in the preseason. The Broncos were, I think it was in the third quarter, they were actually about to go, they were in the red zone, going to go score a touchdown. And they broke the huddle, and they actually showed a really good end zone shot, and the microphone was hot enough that you could hear what was actually being said. And Quinn Miners was the guy that was calling out who the Mike linebacker was to set the offensive line protections. And then Drew Lock never checked off of that. Now, is that necessarily a major deal? No. I mean, you want to have some communication with your offensive line and then work through that. However, the fact that a rookie center playing the position for the first time in his entire playing career, that missed an entire season playing D3, and the last time he played football was at guard, and he's the guy that you want as calling out the line protections for the entire offense. That to me is a big no-no. And that goes into the mental aspect. He's slow through his reads, Drew Lock is. He doesn't see everything that's coming in front of him. He doesn't identify blitzers. He doesn't identify his line checks. And when it comes down to it, he doesn't trust anyone around him either. There was a play against the Ravens where he had an easy step-up lane and a crossing route coming underneath. I think it was Noah Fant that was coming across from his left to his right. And Drew Lock, instead of climbing the pocket, vacated, ran directly towards the sideline, sprinted his ass off literally to get there, and then threw the ball away, not even allowing time for something to open up underneath. He just started running. To me, there's so many issues that we've seen, and Erick said it. It goes back all the way to his time at Missouri. His footwork it's cleaned up. Don't get me wrong. It is a lot better. But the issues with Drew Lock stem from Drew Lock, not from the coaching staff. And that to me is a cop-out answer. I don't want to be a jerk here, Jeremy, and I know you support the show and you're a great supporter. That to me is a cop-out question. It's a cop-out answer to say that the coaching staff broke him, because Drew Lock simply needs to figure it out for himself, or else he's never going to get there.
Naj came in with a $10 donation saying, "Bros, what are your thoughts on the inconsistent play of Bowles and Simmons? And is it time to replace K-Jack with Stearns?" As for the inconsistent play of Bowles, not all of it, but I think part of the issue that he's having is the constant turnaround that's been happening so far at left guard. I mean, Dalton Reisner was in there, then we had to go to switch to Quinn Miners. When Dalton Reisner was in there, his play was better. I mean, it still wasn't the caliber of last year, and I think that there are other issues that he's dealing with. Again, it's not just that, and I think it's just needing to get comfort down with Quinn Miners. That wasn't there. We'll see how he plays this week. I expect him to bounce back. And it's not like he's been absolutely terrible. He's had one bad game. I mean, he's had his issues in a couple other games, but he hasn't been terrible by any means. Same thing with Justin Simmons. He had a really terrible game against the Baltimore Ravens. Got caught looking and behind for a deep touchdown. A couple other issues there. So he's not terrible. It's just a matter of getting settled down. Again, still a lot of chemistry growing in the secondary with so many new pieces in it. And then as for replacing K-Jack with Stearns, I don't think so. Not yet. I mean, K-Jack is still playing really good football. One bad play against the Ravens doesn't mean he needs to be replaced.
I was actually just about to say that the Hollywood Brown touchdown over the top, they beat him 49 yards on the post. K-Jack just didn't get enough depth. It was a bad technique play on him, and it was on him. It wasn't on Justin Simmons, as everyone wants to kind of just shout from the rooftops. Simmons has been not great, but he hasn't been terrible either. Like, he's just been a consistent, he does what he wants to do, and it does what he does very well. He's still playing pretty decent in coverage. He has the interception against the Jets to his name, playing very well in his run fits. K-Jack is, you can see he's slowing down just a little bit. It goes back to that Marquise Brown touchdown. His run fits are still amazing, though. He's a head knocker. He wants to come and blow you up. And actually, Justin was talking about that for being a guy as small as he is. And K-Jack's not the biggest guy by any stretch of the imagination. He's incredibly physical, and he wants to blow you up every time that it's time to make a tackle. So to me, I don't agree that it's time to get Stearns in there. It is time to get Stearns in there more, but not as a true replacement level player for K-Jack, because K-Jack's still playing pretty dang good football. And guys, I know I'm checking the comment section. I just want to say I'm not trying to be a jerk on the whole Drew Lock conversation. I don't want to go back into that. To Jeremy, I was not trying to be a jerk on that. I've heard that a lot, and I don't want to just come attack you for that. So I apologize there. It's just to me, it's not the right question to ask or the right way to look into that insight. That's just my personal opinion. Sorry.
Well, there's two comments here that they kind of go together, and I know you don't want to go back to it, but it deals with Drew Lock. It says, Collection Connection says, I don't get where you guys are coming from. Lock is better than Teddy. Lock beat Teddy last year. Locke was in his second season, Teddy in his sixth. They also have the same record. He is not broke. Locke beat the Panthers defense. The Broncos defense beat Teddy. And it was a game where Teddy was dealing with a knee injury that he shouldn't have been playing on, with a bad offensive line. I mean, it's not hard to turn on the tape of the two and watch with an open mind and see that Teddy Bridgewater is outperforming Drew Lock. And even last year, before the final few games where Teddy was playing on that bad knee, that Teddy was outperforming him and just as a smart quarterback. And Jay Roper says, but does Teddy do line checks as well? I know Teddy is mentally better than Locke, but I think that it's the offense that restricts the quarterbacks to do that. Teddy Bridgewater does line checks all the time. I don't know fully if he has, the privilege to, or the authority to go and flat out change complete plays, but he's fixing line calls and calling out blockers and stuff or blitzers and stuff like that. And, yeah, he definitely has the authority to do that aspect of it, not so much the offense of it. Typically, you see that kind of restrictions on younger quarterbacks lacking experience, who just aren't up there, in terms of mentally, not necessarily not mentally competent, but not mentally like not a super high football IQ. That's the best way to put it.
Right. I want to kind of elaborate on that. And if you guys have watched any of the Peyton Manning live streams on Monday Night Football, he actually goes into this just a little bit. And I don't think that, Teddy has full reign to be able to do something where he's, changing the play completely at the line of scrimmage. But what I will say is he does have the authority to go into a 2-play call in the huddle. So let's say we're going like gun doubles right, 387, 2-jet, X shallow Y stick or something like that, can 21 double dive. So essentially he calls a pass play first, and they'll set up the formation, see what the box is looking at, see what kind of defense are looking at. And if the box is light, he'll adjust can, and that turns it into the running play or the secondary play call. So Teddy has the ability to call 2 plays in the huddle at the same time, and then change the play at the line of scrimmage based on what he has looking up front. What Erick said, though, is absolutely correct, is where he's identifying blitzers. He's identifying what's coming and setting his line protections. That is what you need to look for. And that is the first step to being an actual competent quarterback in the NFL, by setting up your team to get into not only the best play, but to protect yourself as well and protect the offense to stop making negative plays.
Yeah, and then real quick before we get out of here, just throw this out there, Jay Roper asked, favorite quarterback for the 2022 draft. Honestly, I wouldn't say I have one. I really like Carson Strong. I liked him quite a bit last year. I do like Desmond Ridder some. But probably the guy I like the most is a guy that just may not come out. He's going to get thrown under the bus a little bit because of the level of competition he's played. But I mean, dude's thrown 37 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. And no matter what level competition you're playing, that's pretty impressive. But that's Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina. We'll see if he comes out, though. 2023 is probably my bet. I'd be fine waiting until the 2023 draft for a quarterback, though.
Right. I actually agree with you on Grayson McCall. I've been watching him a lot here lately. He is fun. That dude is really fun to watch. Let's see. Before we get out of here, I want to run through the comment section, see if I can find any stars that we've missed. Scott, are we caught up on stars and everything like that? Yep, we're good to go on that. Before we get out of here really fast, got to give a shout out to our top star senders. Randy Jones, again, with that 1,000-star donation. We really appreciate that, man. Tim Hoffman as well. Michael Ronquillo, who jumped out earlier, but got to give another shout out there. Andrew Baker, Andrew Lampe as well. Lawrence Rivera, man, we appreciate every single one of you guys. Claude Riley, Peter over in Cambodia, Travis Weber, Gary Leeds Palmer, David Crespin. Again, guys, thank you all for joining us tonight. This has been the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. I'm going to wrap it up here, Scott, and take control of the sticks for just a second. You guys can follow me on Twitter by finding me at Sanderson MHH, and for Eric at Erick Trickel, and also shout out to Scott Kennedy at Scout Kennedy down on the Twit machine. Also, guys, make sure you guys are following at Mile High Huddle. That's the mother account where you're going to find breaking news and analysis regarding your Denver Broncos, including film breakdowns, opinion articles, anything regarding the Broncos. That's where you're going to be able to find it. Facebook supporters, make sure you go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Click that blue Become a Supporter button where you're going to get the Trickle Zone. That's premium content. You're also going to get Kelberman's Corner and Broncos Book Club with Chad Jensen every single Sunday. Eric, what's up with the Trickle Zone? Obviously, we're doing some game breakdowns, but you have an announcement regarding that.
Yeah, tomorrow's episode will be delayed. Unfortunately, they are doing work on the gutters of my apartment building and the ceiling. And talking to them today after they scared the living bejeebus out of me. They'll be here typically about the time that I'm doing the Trickle Zone. So it's going to be delayed. It's going to be, I believe, at 2:30 Mountain Time instead of the normal noon time. Just simply because I don't want to deal with all the hammering and all that stuff that's been going on, or the lift that they're using. That thing is so loud. Woke me up this morning. So it'll be delayed, and we'll be talking about previewing the Pittsburgh Steelers game.
Yeah, we didn't do necessarily a great job of really previewing that Steelers game tonight. Great conversation with everyone today, by the way. It was an amazing show, and thank you all for joining us. But guys, let's see here. If you guys are financially able to do so or want to do so, head on over huddleuppod.com. That's where you guys are going to get your merch. That's the merch tent. You get a hat, you get a t-shirt like Eric's wearing. I got the Mile High Huddle hoodie on right now. There's something to suit your fancy, a face mask, a coffee cup, the new Broncos for Breakfast coffee cup, which got a shout out in the chat earlier tonight as well. And Scott giving the thumbs up there as well. But yeah, there's coffee cups for you guys, a onesie for your baby, something for the guys, something for the gals, anything to suit your fancy. huddleuppod.com. That's where you guys are going to get it. If you guys aren't able to do so, not financially able to do so, or that's just not your bag to, buy merch and stuff like that, we understand. We appreciate that. But everybody should be doing these three things. One, subscribe wherever you guys are watching this podcast, whether it's on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, Twitch, doesn't matter. Subscribe to Mile High Huddle, okay? Great way to stay in touch with what's going on with the show. Like every single video you guys see, and if you love it, share it. It's the most organic way that you guys can help us grow the show, grow the milehighhuddle.com website, get it in front of as many Broncos fans as possible, because without you guys and without your support, we couldn't do what we do best, which is cover your Denver Broncos. Now, run back to the chat really fast. Oh, you don't have the DVD shirt on, Eric. Oh, my bad. No. It looks like you always wear the same shirt every single time we come on. But anyways, guys, no, Eric, before we get out of here, any last words? We want to do the score predictions for the game, or are you going to do that tomorrow?
No, I mean, you guys can go check out the Mile High Roundtable on milehighhuddle.com, get our score predictions there. K-Hop, yeah, my camera autofocuses. It drives me nuts when it does it, but that's what it is. And then Collection Connection, Locke had a minute 51 to score, and the team was actually still, for the most part, fighting, and 3 touchdowns. And he still went out and threw an interception with 10 seconds left.
Yeah, they took time. They took timeouts at 28 seconds, 20 seconds, and 10 seconds in the red zone, and he still threw the interception to close the game, guys. Do we have an Instagram page from Tez Esquire? Yes, we do, Tez. We do have an Instagram page at Mile High Huddle. Make sure you guys go check that out as well. Tim Hoffman jumping in here, last second stars. Let's get that W. Go Broncos, Tim. Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that. I think it's going to be a great game. I really do. I think it's going to be some defensive slugfest there. Again, guys, milehighhuddle.com. Check out the roundtable piece where we have all of our score predictions, what we think is going to happen with the game. Go check that out.
Over under total sacks for the game for both teams, 8.
Oh, for both teams, 8?
Yeah, total sacks. Over under 8.
Over.
Yeah, I was thinking over. I mean, both these offensive lines. Scott's in the back saying under.
Saying
I hope it's under. 6?
Scott's saying 6. If you want to do just the Broncos against the Steelers, the Broncos sacks on Ben Roethlisberger, if you set the over under at 4.5, I'm still going over. They're going to get after Roethlisberger this week. I think that honestly, the Broncos offensive line is going to hold up, and Bobby Massey has his work cut out for him. But see the chips.
Bobby Massey going to give up all 8 of the sacks.
That's
TJ Watt's going to eat him for lunch, man.
Yeah, it's going to be bad, man. The over is huge on that. If it's 7.5, I'll take the over. 8, call it a push there. 4 for each team. Let's see here. Anything else pressing?
I think that does it.
I think that pretty much does it for us, guys.
Andrew Baker, I want to say safe travels for you as you're heading back and going to miss the game.
Yes.
So safe travels.
Shout out again to Jay Roper and congratulations, man, on becoming a father. It's amazing stuff. Hey, Jay, get at milehighhuddle.com or not .com, milehighhuddle@gmail.com. Email us your shirt size and your address, and we'll send you out a Mile High Huddle t-shirt for becoming a new father, and just to show our importance, appreciation and support for everything that you do for us as well. So we appreciate every single one of you guys. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you all for joining us on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. You all stay safe, take care, have a great rest of your weekend. Shout out to Scott Kennedy for running in the 1s and 2s. For Erick Trickel, I am Lance Sanderson. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week. And as always, go Broncos.